Hello, we've got a 1 thumbs up. Let me know if the audio is okay and if the fan is bothering you guys. And the good bit of news is, of course, I'm drinking Campari. A little bit of a celebration because today officially marks the beginning of the Gasifier project. Although I sent out the badges, which I want to show you because I think they're great. So, one and two. So these badges, I had them made again. This one here is actually, sorry, this one. Yeah, this one here, the compass style, is the one apparently most people liked, which surprised me. So it's got the compass, 3 little stars up there which represent the belt of Orion, the 3 pyramids, and of course a Gerber Mark II with SOE on it, and a compass on the outside. And this one, this one is more for the exploration type guys. This one is more for the operation type guys, and it's got the same stuff but only has SOE at the bottom, which of course, if you know anything about history, SOE stands for Special Operations and Exploration. On my on my blog, and by the way, you can buy these individually on the blog. So if you go to the blog and you go to the shop, you can send off for these if you want. The price includes postage to anywhere in the world, and I have to tell you that, of course, America is a pain in the ass because, as usual, anywhere else can just put the address and send it off. In America now, I have to put the address, I have to like fill in a form. It's just like, you'd think I was sending, I don't know, guns, drugs or something. But anyway, the Gasifier project is now well underway. I've mailed off all the badges except to 4 people who, despite repeated emails, haven't given me their details, their address or whatever to post it to. Today I've also sent off the documents for the Thomas Townsend Brown Graviter. So if you want to build your own Graviter and you paid like 40 euros or more, you should have that today. It was sent off earlier today. I'm also gonna tell you guys about 2 more things which I forgot to set up before I started. So let me just quickly go and get them. One is I've started a new channel which I'm uploading stuff onto, and it's a little bit different because all I'm gonna have on there are like survival type videos. So it's like how to, some of them I've done before, but like most of it is I've got like 20 videos now on like the mini lathe and how to set that up and all that. There's going to be some of the Gasifier videos on there, the public ones anyways. And I've called it Apocalypse Joe, which I had a tagline for it, which I forgot to add in, but it's something like apocalypse quality engineering with zombie horde precision. So it's, it's sort of a fun channel, but it also hopefully useful because it has like practical stuff on how to use a mini lathe, practical stuff about the Gasifier stuff that I'm putting on there is like basically my screw ups. So it's showing you what not to do for brassing and stuff like that. On the Gasifier project, I've made some progress in that. I've made a friend here a while back who does boilers and stoves and stuff like that for a living. So he's gonna help me make sure that the brassing is done properly and learn about how to do that. So when I do the videos for that, hopefully it'll be a pretty professional, semi-professional sort of thing and make it as easy as possible for you guys to copy. Oh, TVCL says that the fan is mild, not irritating. Okay, let me just switch it off, and if I start to sweat like a pig, I'll switch it back on. Anyway, salute to the Gasifier and all you guys being here. Campari. Caleb says, hi Kurgan, I'm enjoying the book. It seems to be just what I needed. Great. I think Caleb recently bought the Systema book, and possibly also has Reclaiming the Catholic Church. So yeah, the Systema book has got a lot of stuff about how to fix your body from injuries and stuff like that. So it is quite useful. Scorpio, the Chief Gamma. Hello, Senor Kurgan. Just stopping by to say hi. It's good to see you, my Gamma friend. Backstabber101 says, hey guys. And Sam Wereb says, howdy everybody. Tortoise House. There's only 10 people. Tragic. And Scorpio says, I've been looking for you. Check your email or message me privately. I guess we have another Gamma in the house. And yes, I don't care if there's only 10 people. That's how it goes. I don't stream that frequently, so I have a nefarious plot to perhaps be able to stream every couple of days or maybe even daily for a little bit. But I have to get quite a few things in line to do that, you know, with the kids, the wife, and all that. So we'll see, but there's possibly an opportunity for that. So Joe C says, hey all. Oh, we'll see how it goes. And Woolly Ram, good evening, Kurgan and Immortals. Hello, Woolly. So yeah, I have been really quite busy. It is getting rather sweaty, so I may, well, tell me if this bothers you guys too much. That's on like a low setting. Oh, I just saw something else here while I was here. Okay, if this is too loud, let me know and I'll suffer through it. It's not that big a deal, really. Oh, if I change this around, maybe it has less of a vibration. How's that? Hopefully that's not too bad. Yeah, so I, you know, to get the brassing done and all that, a bit of welding possibly. It's quite, you know, I had these like sort of apocalypse goggles, which I have a whole video on the new channel about, that, you know, for welding, but they are not really that cool for splashback because they really only cover the eyes. So I actually bought one of those welders like helmets that you pull down, and I ordered some glass, you know, for the tempered glass, like level 5, which is what the goggles are, by the way, and not really enough for welding. For welding, you kind of want a 9 or a 10, but for brassing, 5 should be enough. So I ordered this, you know, and I ordered 5 of them just in case some break, whatever. So this is what I got in the mail. That's right. I got 5 perfectly normal clear glass. Just so you know, this is what the goggles glass looks like, right? So I think you can see there's a bit of a difference there. The company that I got it from shall remain nameless, mainly because they fully refunded the whole thing, including postage. They apologized. German company, so I don't know what happened there. But yeah, that was kind of weird. So that was just a funny little thing that happened. And oh yeah, I was going to give you some links. So give me 1 second while I quickly go and show you. Right, so I've got, how do I do that? Okay, copy link. All right, so 2 things that I've done. One, I'm going to send you the link for my Amazon wish list. There you go, in case any of you want to send me some presents on, mostly about the lathe. That's the lathe stuff. And then I'm going to send you the link to the other channel. Okay. Oh, I may have to go somewhere else to get that. So that's the wish list in the channel there, and here is the Apocalypse Joe channel. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. The Apocalypse Joe channel is just you know, so that if you're interested in using mini metal lathes and you know, stuff like of that kind of thing, you can enjoy that channel without having to wait for the right stream that talks about it or whatever. Oh, there, I have to. Why is it not letting me post there you go. So the first one is the Amazon wish list, if you want to buy me random shit for my lathe, and the YouTube one is the new channel, which is got no subscribers. It's really only for people that are going to be interested in lathes and stuff like that. Okay. If you have any questions, there's a dozen of you, just like the apostles. Let me know now. If you want the badges, order them while you can, because once they're gone, they're gone. I didn't know Apocalypse Joe was going to be on YouTube. Yeah, it is. The Gasifier stuff, some of it will be on YouTube, but probably most of it will be like on a special link for the guys who contributed to the Kickstarter, at least at first. Well, we'll see how it goes and how many videos there are and so on. I saw the trailer on Telegram. I understand it is based on a true story. Is this the case? Well, yes, because I'm doing all of those things, so it's real. And you know, there's plenty of zombies out there. And I think, as I believe I said in the introduction, if you don't know what I'm talking about and you think, what is this guy talking about? Talking about zombies. There's no zombies. You might be one of them. I see the Gamma's chief is out in force today. He's obviously looking for some juicy stuff to get on me. But yeah, it's a pretty random stream today, so if you got anything to ask, say, whatever, shoot. I'm in a easygoing mood, so you won't get banned right away, you know, unless you do something horrible like blaspheme Mary or something, I don't know. Hello, Slanty Chauffeur Bear, and thank you for your support. By the way, Slanty was big supporter of the Gasifier project, so thank you for that. And yeah, the progress on that is I've pretty much got all the equipment I think I need to actually, you know, the actual Gasifier parts. I think I've got all of those pretty much. Might need a little bit of small chain, I'm not sure, but I'm sure I have some of that lying around. And I may have to buy some brassing equipment, but I'm waiting until my friend is free to like come over and tell me exactly what I need and whatever, so I don't just buy random crap that doesn't work. Or TVC says, on a scale of 1 to Milo, how gay do you think Bergoglio is? Well, if we call Milo a 10, I'd say Bergoglio is probably like at least a 7 or an 8. He did have... I always forget that guy's name. Something with a V. Vargas. It's if you guys are subscribed to Kurgan TV, just on the introduction to the Sedevacantis series, there it's on the. Oh, by the way, Kurgan TV also, that's now got 155 videos. I know we said we'd have 160 by the 28th of August, so I'm a couple of weeks late. I will have the other 5 videos up very shortly. Unfortunately, what happened there is I had allowed for holiday period and downtime and that, which all happened around Christmas time. And then, unfortunately, I got really quite ill with COVID in January. And then I got pulmonitis, or what do you call it in English again? I forget the name anyway. Anyway, the Latin name is pulmonitis, like when you know, like really bad chest infection that put me in a pretty bad shape. They had to take me to the hospital in an ambulance with oxygen and stuff. Then they gave me a bunch of weird stuff that I didn't need and antibiotics I was allergic to, so that nearly killed me off. So basically I spent almost 4 months like completely out of it, like, you know, between being bedridden and having to, like, you know, build my strength up again, because like for about at least a month after the pulmonitis, I was out of it. I mean, I you know, I was like struggling to like go up and down the stairs and stuff like that. But I'm back to pretty much full health now, and I've been working like a donkey, so outside and so on. So although I'm really behind on everything, because all this happened when you're supposed to like trim the trees for the olives, you know, prune the trees and all that, and grass overgrown, the devil plant, which is the brambles, is a devil plant, and that thing is taking over everything, and you know, it's just one thing after another, just a lot of them. So I am behind on everything, but health-wise, you know, I could probably stand to lose, I would say, about, you know, after the finish of the illness, I could probably, because I've been pretty much lying in bed for about 2 or 3 months, and not doing very much other than, you know, what was necessary, I'd probably stand to lose maybe like maximum of like 20 pounds after I, you know, at my worst. And I've lost definitely 10 of them, but the thing is, I've lost more than that in terms of, like, you know, fat and mass that wasn't required, and I've built up a little bit of muscle and stuff. I still have probably about, I would say, maybe 5, 6, 7 pounds of like excess weight that I don't need. But you know, I probably am not going to lose that very quickly unless I focus on it, which I've never really done. And pneumonia, that's it. Pneumonia. Thank you, Mr. Scorpio. Pneumonia, that's right. So yeah, you know, that put me out of action for a lot longer than I thought, which is why the videos are a little bit late. So I apologize about that, but you know, all things considered, I'm still 5 videos short, and I will have them done before the end of the month. So there's a whole bunch of new series on the lathe, the mini lathe and stuff on KTV, a little bit on the Gasifier, and I am going to start a new series on hypnosis, and I will also get back onto the history series and the other series and so on. The Face on Mars, I've got like one more video to do there to wrap things up. I think the Systema stuff, again, it's either finished or maybe one more video. The Sedevacanti stuff I can go on pretty much endlessly, and the history series I can go on pretty much endlessly. So I'm gonna add also the hypnosis thing. I've taken a bit of time out to like sketch out the layout for the hypnosis videos, because I want to do a decent job of it, and I don't want it to be something that you've seen before and whatever. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm feeling pretty positive about everything right now. Let's just catch up with the chat while you guys are going to keep throwing questions and whatever. I'll go back and read if I miss it right now. Joe C says, just said my rosary, so I should be ban resistant. One can only hope. Salute to you, Joe. Wooly Ram says, work some night shifts, you will believe in zombies, ghouls and whites. That's a D&D monster. Within the month. What happened to your left arm? It looks like a candy cane. That's pretty good. No, it's just a bit of tendonitis. I don't actually know what I did. I went to the beach with the kids a couple of days, and I was throwing them up in the air and stuff. I got a little bit of an inflammation here, and this is just kinetic tape to like hold everything together, because I've learned from, you know, being injured many times. The best way to do it is not to use it, but I can't not use it. So the second best thing is to just close it up. And then this bit, this is something I did earlier today. I just scraped myself while I was working outside, and not really a cut, but it's just irritating, because whenever I put my arm down, I was like leaving blood drops everywhere. So I was just like, ah, fuck it. And so I covered that up. And cerise pink, because that's the first kinetic tape that came out. I think I had blue, green, black, and pink, and I don't know if I finished the other ones or if it was just the first one that I grabbed. But secure in my masculinity, I don't care if it's pink, think it looks very sexy. So yeah, and this stuff is great, you know, for that kind of injury. You know, we've all used some of it. Like my wife twisted an ankle, like probably when we're still in England. And this stuff you can shower with. You know, I've had this on for probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days. You know, you can wash with it and it doesn't really come off. It gets a little bit like, you know, frayed, grotty, whatever. I mean, this is just the blood from the scrape, so this is not dirt. But it's great. It's good stuff. There's also Elastoplast is what I used to use when I was doing training in South Africa. But this stuff is pretty similar. It's just a bit thinner. Elastoplast was like, that shit saved my life so many times. Like when I did my second Dan, I had like 3 broken ribs and all sorts. I just taped myself up. I was like basically, literally holding myself together with the equivalent of human duct tape. That's what Elastoplast is like. But yeah, nothing serious. Caleb says, so to woolly rams, like work some night shifts and you will believe in zombies, ghouls and whites within the mun. Caleb replies, or just live in the US. So what do you think, you Scorpio? Is that correct? Is there a lot of zombies out there in the US? Macelerate says, God bless you all and your families. Thank you, Macelerate. I really appreciate that. Josie says, ooh, pneumonia can be rough. Glad to hear feeling better. Yeah. Any new stuff on anti-gravity? Well, yes. I have sent out to the guys who supported me on the Kickstarter project a document which is basically from Thomas Townsend Brown himself almost 100 years ago. And I am doing my initial research on it, but to be fair, I'm going to concentrate on the gasifier and all that. There was a stretch goal number 4, which we didn't hit. If we had hit that, I would have bought some specialized equipment, but to put one together of these gravitors where I can prove and measure the change in gravity and so on, or rather in weighted mass, if you want to call it that, or the gravity effect on the whole thing. But we'll see. You know, if I've got money and time left over, I'll try and do it. But we didn't quite hit the. You know, in order to do this stuff properly and in a way that's provable, demonstrable, and repeatable, I think you need some pretty refined equipment in terms of like balances and sort of protected work area so that you can build this whole thing. But then I want it like under glass so that you can't say that like wind affected it or whatever. And I want it on a very sensitive scale so that you can see any movement or any loss in weight and so on. So that's just stuff that I haven't really got the time or money to do. But if we'd hit stretch goal number 4, I would have done it. We didn't get there by quite a wide margin, so you know, I doubt I'll do all of that, but we'll see. I don't know. If I have the time and money, I will. So, you know, if all you guys like throw some money at my books and videos, KTV and all that, and that picks up considerably, then yeah, why not? I'd love to be able to spend my time doing that, but I have to, you know, feed my kids. 5th one on the way soon, so, you know, I gotta do other work as well. And Caleb says, of course, I'm always ready for more SEDE videos. Good, good. There's gonna be, actually that'd be pretty cool if you guys help me out and tell me here. If I am gonna do more SEDE videos for KTV, I had a whole series like to basically just rag on the fake Catholics and the fake, you know, the heretics like Jay Dyer and the misguided like Ann Barnhart. And many others, you know, the intentional deceiving Freemason Satanists like John Salsa, Bergoglio, whatever. I was thinking of doing those, but you know, do a video on each one of these guys, which would be quite time-consuming, but I think also possibly quite helpful. So I don't know, if you think that a series like taking out these individual nefarious characters point by point would be useful, then let me know. If you'd rather have more generic information about you know, the sedevacanthes situation, so on, then I'll probably do that. I like your questions, guys. As always, they're very cool, focused, so keep them coming if you want. Woolly Ram says, any clue what the tattoo of an origami crane on the inner arm symbolizes? One night I had a sequence of customers, all with an origami tattoo on the inner arm. The crane in Japanese mythology, I forget. It has some significance. I can't remember what it was. I would say Google it. Or, given that you work in the night shift with the zombies, maybe there was just a bunch of like friends that were all drunk, kind of like that film The Hangover, and they all went to the same tattooist, and then they decided to come and freak you out and just show you their tats while they were buying more booze. TVC says, can you comment on using focused channeled breathing to heal the body? Is it effective? Yes, it is. How is it done, and what are its limits? Well, thanks for reminding me, because case in point, I should be doing this with this. And, you know, that's the thing about Systema. Like, if you're not training regularly, which obviously I'm not right now because I've got other stuff to do, you can sometimes forget some of the pretty interesting injuries. Now, when I say that, I'm talking from my personal experience with sports injuries, which are pulled muscles, torn muscles, injured ligaments, that sort of thing. You know, I don't have any experience of it, like trying to heal cancer or any weird stuff like that. But with an injury, say like this one, which I've got, which is tendonitis, tendonitis is a particularly nasty thing. It's like your tendons are inflamed. You maybe pulled off a little bit of your tendon from the attachment to the bone. So it takes a while. Generally takes, you know, at least 4, 5, 6 weeks to heal this kind of thing fully. And in some cases, it can remain weak for a long time or even permanently, depending on what kind of damage you did. But I'll give you an example. I had a lot of injuries from doing karate for a long time. So when I started Systema, all these injuries started to surface again, and in some cases, you know, got worse before they got better. But I had a major injury on a compounded injury, let's say. I had a car crash that would have killed me if the guy had hit me like 1/10 of a second later, because he hit me in the engine, and he had a Range Rover and I had a little Toyota, and he just like came flying through a stop sign, didn't even touch the brakes at 2 in the morning, you know, from a blind corner. So there was no way. I didn't even see him hit me. I just felt it hit me, and as it hit me, I hit my head against the side of the car. And I remember thinking, you know, in that split second while this thing is just ramming the fuck out of my vehicle, he literally took out the engine right in front of me, went on to hit the corner through a ditch, took out the stop sign on the other corner of the thing through a ditch, and then went to ram the corner wall of a house in South Africa. Now, corner, you know, protection fencing walls of houses in South Africa are not built like in the States. They're actually fucking solid concrete and brick walls and whatever. And he took out that corner. He actually crashed the wall as well. So he was flying. If he'd hit me 1/10 of a second later, it would have hit me right in the door and I'd be dead. He literally took out the engine of the car. And I hit my head on the side of the car here. And as that was happening, I remember thinking, fuck, I don't know what this is. It could be a train, it could be a truck, it could be a buffalo with spotlights, because the only thing I knew was it had lights. And that caused me an injury on my neck, which, you know, I thought, oh, I'm a bit stiff, but I was in my 20s and I sort of ignored it. But it was a pretty permanent, I still have stiff muscles there now. And then I had a broken sternum from training, a dislocated shoulder a couple of times. And that also twisted my spine at the back. So there's one of my vertebra there that is not happy when I get unhappy, let's say. And my chest, you know, my sternum here also, I have to like basically keep my chest area muscles sort of pretty okay. So with Systema, when that came out, you start to move all these muscles that got atrophied, including this one here. And I had a girl, she used to come and do like a Western acupuncture on these muscles. on here and also in my shoulder. My shoulder over time, over years, I managed to like click it. Like once was actually with one of my ex-wife, and we were like lying in bed after we had sex and whatever, and she just like pulled gently on it, and it just like, and I was totally relaxed and just click. And I thought, oh man, that felt like, you know, a release like of like years of stress just like went. Then I found out about Systema, and I worked it, and then I used those electrode things on the shoulder and lying flat on a floor. After that thing like rewired it, and it's much improved. But you know, before I had this girl used to come in like do this acupuncture, and the needles for my neck and on the shoulder, they used to bend. She like, what the hell have you got here? This is almost like if it was a bone, you know. So the needles would bend, they wouldn't go in. So there's still a bit of an injury there. But anyway, in training, because I was releasing this muscle that had been atrophied so long, I like popped my shoulder pretty bad. You know, it was like all down my back and everything. I was like, oh shit. And I went home and I was like, oh, this is gonna take weeks. And I literally lay on the bed, breathing, doing the breathing to heal, and I did it for about 2.5 hours. And I was like, fine. After that, I could actually do push-ups, which was like not wise if you haven't healed, and not wise really anyway. But I just did it to like test it. And I was like, fuck, you know, within a week I was fine, and that should have been an injury that would take over 2-3 months, you know, something like that. So the way you do it is gonna sound like woo-woo stuff, and I'll explain later how it works. You have to breathe in a way that you're imagining the breath going in and into that injury, and you have to kind of be a little bit sensitive. I'll explain something else that's easier to understand, and then you can transfer that to something else. So like when you have a cold, or when you have like a blocked nose, if you breathe and you imagine the breath going like up here like this, and then like going into the two, you know how the back of your neck, you've got like two muscles that go by the side of your spine. Imagine that there's like cables there, and they're like, think of it as like two cables, like there's an outer cable and an inner cable. And imagine that when you're breathing, it's like energy that goes into the inner cable, and you can imagine it like gold colored, say, going down the inner cable and going up on the outer shell, which you can imagine like blue, say. So you've got this blue energy going out. So when you're breathing out, the blue energy like comes up, and when you're breathing in, the gold energy goes in. And you have to sort of imagine it in your neck here. But now there's imagining and imagining. So if you're just imagining, oh yeah, I've got this blue stuff going, that's not really going to work. But if you actually try and feel like the flow going into your back here, then you will find that where you've got an injury, that it's like difficult. It's hard to imagine. It becomes like difficult for you to imagine like pushing the energy flowing through there. It gets like bottlenecked or something. And that's your job. Your job is to feel it and like expand it and make it flow, make it go through there. It's an imagination exercise that what it does is it actually gives you a physiological response to your blood vessels. And what happens is it opens, you know, when you get an injury, like a muscle injury, your muscles basically tense up to protect you, especially if it's near the spine or something like that. And they stay tensed up because they're basically trying to protect your bone and the stuff that becomes really bad if you get injured. So it's all tensed like that. And after a week, 2 weeks, whatever, the injury is actually healed, but your muscles are like now atrophied in that way. And if they stay that way and you don't do something to loosen them up for like years, they become almost calcified. It's almost becomes really difficult to free them up. I was training in Systema for like over a year before some of these things loosened up, and in some cases 2, 3, 4 years before some of them loosened up. And that's doing exercises that make sure that every muscle gets used, every little muscle. So, you know, if in the morning you stretch, then you like do this thing where you're like push against yourself, push against yourself. If you do that every day, like push against yourself, push against yourself. Resistance training, make sure you move muscles independently. So you're doing a push-up with one arm, but the other arm is totally floppy. Or then you get like one stiff arm and you leave the other arm totally floppy and you wing it about. These are all ways to like get your muscles to move individually. So the breathing is not magic, right? You have to imagine the stuff so that it opens the blood vessels in that area and so on. And what happens when the blood vessels open up? They clear out all the toxins, because when you get an injury, it creates certain toxins that frees up the muscles and so on. So if you open up the blood vessels, they get rid of those toxins, and your muscles become loose again. Now, the problem here is that you've got to be careful is if you've done a pretty bad injury, like you've really ripped the muscle, torn a bit of a tendon, you know, like not snapped it, but like injured it, and you loosen the muscles around it and you're not careful, that is a weak spot now, and it doesn't have the protection of the muscles. So you've got to move better. You've got to move consciously. You've got to move slowly, and so on. If you can do all that, then it does work magic. But in some cases, you know, that breathing has to be done. This was a bad old injury, and it literally felt like there was plates of armor stuck in my back that I've had there for years, like suddenly started to crack and move, and I was like, I could actually like feel this. So, you know, I'm giving you an analogy because it's very difficult to explain what you feel inside your body. But you know, look, I'm trying to explain it in a video. The best thing is if you get the Systema book, I go through it in there in detail, and explain it, you know, in much more depth than you can get off a video. But you know, roughly, I hope I've answered your question, TVC. J. Blakemore, hail and well met. Best wishes from Dixie. Hello, Mr. Blakemore, and always like a fellow Southerner. I don't know if you're familiar with Jebediah Lovemore, one of my alter egos. Do you like Lord of the Rings? Something or other. Yeah, sure, I've read the book a couple of times. I'm not even going to watch the Rings of Power or whatever the new woke bullshit that Amazon is doing. I'm not even, I don't even look at the you know, when the like title thing comes up, I just like skip. Not going to watch that shit. I've read the Tolkien stuff. It's probably one of the very few books, maybe the only book I've read twice, The Lord of the Rings, the full trilogy. And yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Vox made a very interesting post recently about Tolkien New, and yes, he did. And you know, I'm still, you know, I've had this conversation with Vox before, like why he's not a Catholic, and I know why, whatever. But you know, all the great thinkers of religion were all Catholics. You know, the Cloud of Unknowing, Thomas Aquinas, Saint Augustine, all these guys, they're all Catholics. And Tolkien was a Catholic. You know, there's a trend that one should notice. SJ Rithik says too much shuffling. I don't know what that means. Oh, Josie says zombies are working day shifts now as well. Woolly Ram, sunlight and selenium are very helpful for the healing. Yes, it's true actually that. Oh, Cordell, hello sir. Hel Kurgan, Helimort. Cordell, your badge has been sent, so let me know when you get it, just because I know that the States sometimes takes ages to receive anything. Woolly Ram says, I still see masked zombies, at least they no longer have cause to force the living to mask as well. Yeah, I still see some of those guys in like supermarkets, and I'm just like, hey, fuck up, and they kind of like try and look at me like, you should keep your distance. I'm like, fuck you, man. If I need that thing and it's right next to you, you can move. Fuck them. Caleb says, I'll have to catch up tomorrow. Thanks for the stream. God bless all. Thank you, Caleb, and have a good evening. Tides of Truth says, hey there. TVC says, yes, thank you for your answer. Okay, good. Stoneground Bear says, hail Kurgan. Hello, Stoneground Bear. Something or other. Can you recommend some good fiction books? Yeah, mine. Just go Gfilotto on Amazon and look up the Overlords of Mars series. If you like science fiction, they're pretty good books. Other fiction books, Dan Simmons. Pretty much anything that Dan Simmons has written is pretty good. Ilium, particularly good. His, what's it called? The Hyperion series, also very good. Ilium is a stand on its own masterpiece. He's then done Olympus, which was also good, but Ilium blew it out the water. I'll say Ilium is probably his best book. He also wrote a book based on the Arctic exploration of, I forget the guy's name. They've also done I think it was on Prime. They converted it to like either Prime or Netflix did like a little mini series of it. And I can't forget, The Terror, I think it's called, something about an Arctic exploration, which really existed. And Dan Simmons used the original diaries and whatever, which, of the guys to put it together. And of course, he put in a bit of fiction, but in a very, very clever way. Very good. I truly enjoyed it. And he's also written another sort of horror, Stephen Kingish type book that did well, that was edited within an inch of its life, and then he got it back. And the whole story of how that book was edited by a fat feminist SJW was quite entertaining. Dan Simmons and I had a little bit of a falling out because he was on this forum about Shakespeare, and being American and somewhat uncultured, he was going on about how Sonnet 95 or 93, I forget, it's undecipherable. It's just, you can't really tell what he's really saying and whether Shakespeare had a gay lover or not. And it's just like, what a load of horseshit. He was just overthinking it. And so I rather, in that Kurgan style I have of sunshine and happiness, made a bit of fun of it. And I said, look, I think Willie, all he was talking about here was A, B, and C, and laid it out, which is quite clear to anybody who actually understands the English language and has learned it, because, when I first went to school and they were doing Shakespeare, I didn't really know what the hell was going on, because it was that like old type English, and I didn't speak that. But then out of curiosity, when I read the Cloud of Unknowing in the original Middle English, I then learned quite a lot about how that English works, and it was like, well, the sonnets of Shakespeare are not that difficult to like figure out. So he was trying to make it all such a big deal, and he got so upset he deleted certainly my questions and answers and that whole thread, but he might have actually shut down the forum. He got that pissed off, which is a pity, because he's a very good writer. He is a very good writer, but I do think, and he's not exactly a complete lefty guy, but there are some kind of questionable things, like even in the Hyperion series and in some short stories that he wrote in a book of his that I've got. It's called Love, Death, and it's one of the very first books. I still have some writing in there in Romanian, because I had a Romanian girlfriend that like wrote me a note in it. And he had some short stories there about a teacher and like one of the students, and this guy's a high school teacher, so like people were like, oh, which high school student is that you're lusting after? And even in the Hyperion series, there's like a bit of dodgy shit going on there, because I don't want to spoil the book for you, but basically there's like some time issues going on, and he meets this girl that he's eventually going to bang down later when she's like 12 and he's in his 30s, but then the age thing like turns another way. So there's some questionable stuff there, which, look, let's be clear, I'm a writer myself, and I've written all sorts of weird fucked up scenes that have got nothing to do with my life. So I'm not saying the guy's a pedophile or that he lusts after one of his students. I don't think so. I don't think he is that kind of a guy. And I don't think that, just from the level of his personality that I understood, I don't think that he's in any way inclined that way. I think he's very loyal to his wife. He's very sort of right-wingish, really. And another interesting tidbit was that he wrote a short story on that forum about this guy from the future, which is really him missing an eyeball, and telling him how, oh, like there's gonna be like an apocalyptic sort of situation, and Muslims will take over, and they will like put everybody to like the sword and make them like slaves if they don't convert and stuff like that. And everybody had a go at him, like, oh, he's lost his fucking mind, he's like just a crazy right-wing guy. And that was years ago. He didn't get everything right or whatever, but I thought it was a very clever exercise in futuristic prediction, and some of it certainly, especially under the Obama years. You know, if you're one of those people that knows Obama wasn't born in the States, is really Muslim and is married to a man, that sort of thing, you know. If you're into that sort of thing, then, you know, it could have been a story that you would have enjoyed, I guess. So I'll give him some points for being a guy that's got a very wide range of writing capacity. And I think he's a very good writer. So, again, to answer your question, in fiction, me first. Dan Simmons. I can't read anything by Stephen King because I can predict the whole book after 3 pages, and then he has 990 pages of filler in between and a shitty ending. So I don't like any, or like James Patterson, who's like I think he's got 12-year-olds doing ghostwriting because it's really shit. Any of the David Baldacci series are crap. He's got guns there that don't exist, which is, you know, like writing about a horse vomiting, which just destroys your whole fucking... If you know anything about horses, they can't vomit. You know. So very few real good fiction writers that I'm aware of. I don't know. I hope that answers your question. If you're looking for films, ask me again, because few and far between films lately. TVC says, how would you prove, philosophically demonstrate the existence of the soul? Yeah. TVC, you're gonna get me doing your books for you again, mate. Well, before you even go on to try and prove it, I would say you have to define it. So good luck with that. When you got a definition for the soul, let me know. Josie says, I'd lay money on Vox ending up Catholic at some point. Funny enough, I've said that myself. So would I. Not the Bergoglio Catholic, but a sedevacantist. You know, when I told him I got baptized, and he was like, oh, great, which denomination? I was like, Catholic. And he was like, oh, really? I'm like, no, proper Catholic. I'm like, oh, yes, sedevacantist. You know that priest that had his head chopped off in France while he was doing the mass, the fake mass? Yeah. Well, these guys wrote an article about it saying, well, is he a martyr or is it just desserts for doing a fake heretic mass? And he was like, what? Yeah, they've got it online. That's what they wrote, basically. And like, they don't recognize Bergoglio or any of those guys. They're sticking to the original Catholic dogma before Vatican II, which is all heretic. And, you know, they're all for just war, burning Peters at the stake, etc. He was like, I could get on board with those kind of Catholics. I'm like, yeah, well, they are the Catholics. And furthermore, Vox, he made a comment once on his blog or something. And you know, Vox hates anybody correcting him on anything. And, you know, I get it. You know, we're friends. I'm cool with that. But, you know, he said something about, oh, Catholics, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, sorry, but I'm going to correct you here. You're not talking about actual Catholics. You're talking about fake, know nothing, ignorant Catholics. And he actually wrote back, and he was on Social Galactic, I think, and he said, like, I'll second that, knowing, you know, on the point that you're better read on the subject than I am. So it was like, okay, you know, no, but you know, Vox is a pretty, like, very intelligent people that know a lot. You just need to know your shit before you're going to convince him that he's wrong about anything, which is fair enough, because I'm pretty much the same. You know, if you're going to tell me I'm a fucking idiot about something, I'm not going to get upset about it, but I'll be like, prove it. And I'm only half listening, because you know how many times I get that, and the people that are telling me that are complete idiots that haven't even figured out the baseline of what we're talking about before they spurge on about, you know, there's like people on my blog, like if you look at my blog, I only have very few comments. And the reason for that is because all the idiots that go like, oh, well, you know, the sedevacantism is absurd. For you to say that you're a Catholic while rejecting Protestantism or rejecting the Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, is absurd because we rejected the Pope before you. And it's like, you're too fucking stupid to argue with. You don't even know the baseline of what we're talking about. So your comment doesn't appear. You just go to spam. That's it. And it will never appear again. I don't care if your subsequent comments will actually really go, fuck you. I have no time to waste on, you know, like Vox had an army of guys moderating his comments for spam. I'm like, fuck that. I don't care if you're going to comment on my blog or not. And if you're going to comment, it better follow what I'm writing. It better be relevant to what I'm writing. That doesn't mean you can't criticize it. Doesn't mean you can't call me a complete idiot. That's fine. But have a point. And have a point that is A, researched, B, hasn't already been answered in the original blog post, and preferably in any previous blog post either. Because if you're going to comment on something like very specific, like sedevacantism, know your shit. And don't even bother trying unless you've read Believe, which is 98 pages, and Reclaiming the Catholic Church, which is 530 pages, all about sedevacantism. So if you haven't read at least the 530 pages about sedevacantism, don't even bother trying to correct me, okay? Reply to those 530 pages first with your own book, and let's see. Or like that idiot John Pontrello, who I found out just now, he like made videos 2 years ago trying to like, oh, he's like lying. And because I took a few pages to criticize his nonsense. And his videos are absolutely, they're just ad hominems without any proof, without any backing up of anything. It's just like him repeating himself. It's like, that's not a logical argument. Again, or the Jay Dyer thing, which I knew would go a bum fight. There's a 9,000 word blog post about the Jay Dyer after action report, which refutes every single one of his points in his video. And somebody has actually sent me the original full video. So if I ever have time, I'm going to go through that whole video and then slot in after each one of his comments the actual correct situation, you know, that if you had a brain and if you listened, you would have got from the video originally anyway. But because people just look at emotions, they don't look at logic, they don't look at dialectic, they all freaked out like, oh, you don't know who Denzinger was. No, I made it very clear I knew who Denzinger was. And I said, you know, it doesn't matter who you're saying, Denzinger, Ott, Ludwig. I was just speaking quickly. These are three different people. I was, oh, Denzinger, Ludwig, ha ha ha. No, you idiot. If your brain is so slow that you think that when I'm saying Denzinger, Ludwig, Ott, whoever, doesn't matter, those are three separate people and you don't infer the comma between those names, that's on you. It's not on me. I had a supposed real hardcore Catholic tell me, oh, it's ridiculous that the Kurgan didn't know that Denzinger was a book. Like, to which Vox replied, it's ridiculous that you as a Catholic don't know that Denzinger was a person and that the book Denzinger is called after him, you idiot. It's just, you know, people are dumb. It's just like, the last 3 years have definitely demonstrated to me that Vox says most people are idiots. It should be cubed. Most people are complete fucking morons, never mind idiots. So, Cordell says, I'm going to put that badge on my plate carrier. Good. Excellent. Just don't make it a target though, you know, like, by plate carrier you mean like armor or... William Sams, if we're talking books, I can very warmly recommend the Haydock Bible. It's 2.3 kilos of uncut Catholicism. Okay. I may look into that. Galaxy's Edge is pretty cool. Oh yeah, there was a series I read all on Kindle on my phone. It was really good, and I can't remember the guy's name. It had anti-gravity stuff. It was really well written, and it had like 8 or 9 little books, but I can't remember the author's name or even the name of the books. It was a while back, years ago. Josie says, speaking of great thinkers being Catholic, it's looking like we can add Shakespeare to the list. I may be late to the party with that revelation. No, I didn't know that. Excellent. Cordell Mitchell says, sci-fi Star Wars parody, but very well done. Oh, Galaxy's Edge. Okay. I haven't read it. AE says, good day, Kurgan and everyone. Hello, AE. Long time. Jordan says, Rodney Stark all but proved mathematically that Catholic cultures produced, on average, way more great thinkers than Protestant ones. Yeah, I haven't actually read that particular book about Rodney Stark, but yes, Rodney Stark is the man when it comes to history. And for all you protties out there, he's a Baptist. Doesn't consider himself a Catholic. He goes out of his way to say he's not a Catholic. But the thing about Rodney Stark is that he is an honest historian. He even lambasts himself when in one of his previous books he made a statement or a statistic or whatever, which later in life he realized was bullshit because he just got it from somebody else. And then when he started to check source form, the original sources of things, and he realized these people were all just making shit up, he calls them out by name, and he called himself out by name, and he said, oh, in this book I was wrong, I said this because I used this guy's work, and that guy's work is total nonsense because the original, actual, real information comes from this 300-year-old, whatever, 500-year-old book that was, and so I like Rodney Stark a lot. Stoneground Bear says, my wife and I have both heard that the younger Catholics have a huge bent towards the Latin Mass given the weirdness of the mainstream Catholic Church. Well, it's not just a bent. The Latin Mass is the only valid Mass. There is a papal encyclical called Quo Primum, which states specifically, it's one page, and by the way, it's all this, cum ex apostolato officio, Quo Primum, and so on. They're all appendixes in the back of Reclaiming the Catholic Church, if you're interested in that, 530-page book about sedevacantism that blows Protestantism and all that out the water. Quo Primum was a papal encyclical, valid for all time, ex cathedra, therefore infallible, and forever true, that the Latin Mass is the only valid Mass, has always been the only valid Mass, and will only be ever the only valid Mass, and anyone that tries to change it is clearly an enemy of the Church and instantly becomes a heretic, at the very least. So, you change the Latin Mass, you're not a Catholic. You're a heretic, cursed for all eternity. And if you're a Protestant and you're like, oh, what is all this ritual? The problem with Protestantism is that you've been brainwashed for 500 years, 501 years, into absolute satanic nonsense. And any Protestant, really any Protestant that has gone back to the patristic fathers and read, do you know that there are volumes, literally volumes, I'm not talking about one or two, there are dozens of volumes of writings from the very first church fathers in the first 200 years of the Catholic Church, which was the only church. There was only one church. It was the Catholic Church. And there's writings, volumes of writings, from the first 200 years of the church. That's before even the Bible was put together, because the Bible was put together by Catholics only about 300 years after Jesus ascended. If you read those books, and you read everything that came up to it for the first 1,000 years, there is no way that you can deny that the only Christians are Catholics. There is no way that you can deny that the Pope is a thing, because the Pope was there from before the year 300. And everybody knew he was the guy who decided everything. Ultimately, he was the main dude. First among equals doesn't just mean, oh, well, it's just a tie. No, it means that if ever there is a tie, if ever there is, 3 of the 7 bishops say one thing and 3 of the bishops say the other thing, the Pope, the Bishop of Rome, is the one that decides. And he can overturn fucking anything. This is known for the first 1,000 years of the church. No one even argued the point. It was like the people that tried to argue became heretics. They were the Arian heresy, which nearly turned 97% of the bishops, and then the 3% that stuck it out won, and that became Catholicism. There has been attacks on the church from the beginning, of all sorts: Gnosticism, heretics of all sorts, fakers, fake proto-Protestants. We've had it all. There's nothing new under the sun. Even this 70-year interregnum since 1958, there has been no valid pope. Well, you can't have a 70-year interregnum. Well, why? Where does it say you can't? We've had years of interregnum before. We've had at least 2 or 3 years where there was no pope, none. No one literally sitting on the throne. That didn't end the church, and it doesn't. Because again, Catholic dogma is very clear, very logical. All the stuff is explained. You do have to read. You have to learn how to do logic. You have to know how to do logic. Either learn it or already know it. I already knew it, so it wasn't difficult for me. But listen, I hated the Catholic Church because all I knew about the Catholic Church was the fake Catholic Church. I hated it with a passion. I read about Hinduism, I read about Buddhism, I read about Zen, I read about even Islam. I read about Shintoism. I literally read about most of the religions on the planet. And I never bothered with Catholicism because I was so sick of the most filthy, disgusting, fake religion I could ever think of, Catholicism. And yet here I am, Catholic. Why? Because the Catholicism I was exposed to was the Novus Ordo fake Protestant satanic Freemason bullshit. Once I actually went and studied Christianity, my original first thought on Christianity was like, well, what about agnostic Christianity? And there is such a book written by a Protestant, by the way, Agnostic Christianity, which is a nonsense word. But if you read my books, if you read my Faith on Mars book, that shows you I was basically agnostic. If you then read the Systema book, you could see I got a lot closer to Christianity as a result, by the way, of Dan Simmons, because reading his book Ilium, I went to read like Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, and Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who was a complete arch heretic, brought me closer to Christianity, because this is how far I was from Catholicism. I was so far from Catholicism that an arch heretic who wrote about completely heretical stuff brought me closer to the church. Honestly, it did. So, if you're going to say, oh, Catholicism is nonsense, well, buddy, read Believe. Believe is 98 pages written for people that were like me before I knew anything about Christianity. If I'd read Believe when I was in my 20s, I would have thought, let me look into this a bit more. And a lot of people have. There's over 100 people that have converted to Catholicism, proper Catholicism, as a result of reading Believe. It's a 98-page book in pretty big type. It takes you a couple of hours to read it. It's changed a lot of people's minds because it's written, it's not like a dry textbook. It's like, fuck you, this is what happens, and I don't care if you think it's bullshit. It explains to you factual stuff that you can verify for yourself. And I give you the references, so you can go and read the references yourself. You don't have to take my word for anything. I don't ask you to take my word for anything ever. Read what I wrote, Believe and Reclaiming the Catholic Church. If you read those two books, and if you read those two books and you follow, the thread, in other words, when I tell you X, you can verify for yourself that what I'm saying is true and it's not bullshit that I just made up. With the reference that I give you, your own references, go find out. I wrote that book a couple of years ago and no one has been able to refute a single point on it. I laid out the 11 lies that people do, the deceivers, and no one has been able to knock a single one of these 11 things they do. There's only 11 things they do, and that's it. That's all the 11 things they do. Then I've taken every single objection to sedevacantism, every single one, and I broke it down and destroyed it. And no one has been able to come back with a single thing on all that stuff that I wrote. So if you think Catholicism is bullshit, but you're kind of curious, go buy that book. It's $25 or 26, I don't know, something like that. Yes, you can only get it in 3 paper format. Why? Because fuck you. If you want that book, go and get the paper format. It's not on Kindle. It's too much of a hassle to put it in Kindle. Or maybe it is, I don't even remember, because some guy offered to do it and I said, yeah, okay, whatever. When it comes to the spiritual stuff, I'm saying it's not about the money. There's so many references. To put those references in Kindle would take me ages, and I don't have the time or the will to do that. Some other guy, I think, offered to do it, so it might be on Kindle. I don't remember. I genuinely don't remember. I think Believe is on Kindle. I don't know. I think Reclaiming the Catholic Church is on Kindle because Wooly Ram said, oh, the layout sucks. I didn't do that layout. Some guy that does that professionally offered to do it, and they did that. So if it sucks, don't blame me. But I did it because I want that stuff to be accessible. And but I suggest you get the 3 version anyway, because, whatever, if you get hit by an EMP, at least you got the dead 3 version, it works. But you can't tell me that, oh, Catholicism is bullshit when you don't know anything about it, when you haven't read about it. I used to think Catholicism was bullshit, but I didn't know anything about it. And what I thought I knew about it was complete lies, was nonsense. It was absolute bullshit. So, that's my rant. I'm now going to finish my Campari and rant harder about something else. Wooly Ram says, Jim Butcher is a fun fiction writer. Not great, just a lot of fun. Yeah, Jim Butcher is the guy that writes the Wizard Guide books, I think. He's okay, but he's a bit too lefty for my taste. Douglas Adams sci-fi stuff is a riot. Yes, it is. Still great. Douglas Adams was, I read all of his mostly harmless books. It was really funny. I wonder, I'm very interested in TVC finds Douglas Adams funny because I read that when I was in my teens. So that's like 40 years ago or so, 30 something years ago. And I'm very impressed if TVC gets the references, because some of those references maybe are no longer, I thought they might not longer be valid for like Zoomers, but I'm glad to know they are. Wooly Ram says Protestants should read Eusebius and the Didache. Well, they should read a whole bunch. They should even just read the Bible. And that whole sola scriptura thing is complete nonsense. But I mean, you know, the thing is, Luther said it. This is Luther's quote. Reason is the whore of the devil. So Luther, the originator of Protestantism, rejected reason and logic absolutely. And so do all of his followers, because I've tested this on Social Galactic, and you push them, and ultimately, well, ultimately faith is what matters, not reason. You fucking moron. If you're built in the image of God, and God, Jesus, is known as the Logos, which comes from the Greek, reason, logic, truth, faith, power, all of it is there. You cannot have faith without logic. That's blind faith. That's stupidity. That's credulity. It's known as emotive thinking or rhetorical thinkers. And I use thinkers in the loosest term. These are people that when they see a shiny object are distracted. When they see a pretty woman are distracted. When they see anything that makes them feel something, that's what they suddenly believe. That's got nothing to do with truth, reality, or logic, or reason. You cannot be a believer if you have the complete inability to do reason, unless you're brain damaged. Okay, if you are an actual brain damaged retard, then it's not your fault. And in fact, you know, people with Down syndrome are some of the most lovely human beings you will ever meet. Honestly, Down syndrome people are like awesome. They're loving, they're caring, they're so sweet. They're really great. And I think that's some way because, you know, that maybe they can't intellectually do what other people can, but they are. I remember once I was sitting in a church and there's this lady with this kid that was making noise and wasn't keeping quiet and was trying to say hi and talk to people, and she was just freaking out. You could see that she was just fucking stressed beyond her limits. And I, like many other people in the church, was watching this. You know, she was sitting a few rows ahead of me, and I was like, the fuck is wrong with that woman? You know, and she was like, oh, well, she was trying to tell me, oh, be quiet, you know, and then she was like kind of half on her phone. And I was like, what the fuck, lady? You know, look after your kid. He's obviously either upset about something or is pissed off or something. And then the kid turned and looked at me and said hello. And I caught his eye and I realized he was a Down kid. And I felt like a worm because I wasn't baptized at the time. I was just sitting in one of these fake Novus Order churches to try and get a sense of it. But you still get, you know, there's some residual holiness in those places, even though they're being, you know, completely, you know, blasphemed and sacrilegiously worked over by the fake Novus Order. But there's still some kind of aura sitting there. And I looked and I felt like an absolute piece of shit because I was like, listen, I was judging this lady because she was like looking at her phone a couple of times and she was trying to keep the kid quiet without realizing, you know, there's no way you're going to keep him quiet because he's, you know, he's not the same as everybody else. But he was smiling at me and I just, fuck it, you know, at that point I was smiling back at him and I was winking at him and we were kind of playing and he was like all happy. And at the end of it, I went to her and I said, listen, I just wanted you to know that your son really helped me today, like learn a very important lesson, and thank you. He's blessed by God and so are you, you know, like thank you very much. And she was like, she wasn't even an English speaker. You know, she was an East Bloc lady. So, and I made sure that I spoke slow. When I realized that I spoke, you know, I said, you know, thank you, really, you've helped me more than you will ever know. And she was like, oh, okay. And I hope that she took that with her somewhere, because it is, you know, that kid in that moment made me realize what a fucking absurd idiot I was, worrying about the noise in a church or whatever the fuck. And now, you know, I often don't go to mass so much because I've got a lot of small kids that are fucking savages. And, you know, there's other little kids that are brought up Catholic from the beginning, and they sit there quietly with their veil, the little girls, like they know the prayers, and they're like 3 years old. My 3-year-old is going to try and like jump on the altar to steal the gold chalice. You know, he's just a fucking Viking, really. And his little sister is like sweet, but when she doesn't get her way, she's got like a sonic superpower scream that will burst your eardrums at like 50 meters. And the older one is like, she will just sit there like, why are you taking me through this, Dad? It's like, fuck you, you got baptized. Yeah, I told you what it was all about. Yeah, but this is boring. And it's like, I get it, because they're my kids. It's my fucking DNA in there as well. But it's like, man, you know, I don't want to destroy the whole experience for everybody else. So I'm like, look, let me teach them the basics, which is sit down, don't move, and shut up, son. You know, with that. And then they kind of hold still for like 30 minutes. And at least let me get that into them first before I come there and disrupt the whole thing. But I get it, because the priest is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Bring your kids. It doesn't matter if they scream the whole fucking way through. That's what kids do. Just shut up. They have to learn to. And I'm like, for 99% of kids, I think that's the right approach. For my kids, just because I know, you know, I know where I come from. I know who I am. I know how they are. That's not going to work. I have to like slowly show them the way, you know, when they're working with me, chopping at something, and it's like, okay, son, do you know why we're chopping down this tree? Because it's dead, and can you feel there's something around? You know, slowly lead them into it. It's the only way. Like my daughter now, I'm slowly bringing up to her, discussing things with her, and she's getting it. You know, I can see that she's like, it's also the way you tell them. It has to be interesting for them. Otherwise, it's just boring, like dogmatic bullshit that they don't know why you're saying that. But if you make an example that relates to their life, you know, so it's a long process. But I forgot why I'm talking about this. Slanty Chauffeur Bear says, frustrating for me how Americans cling to Hollywood's narrative of Christian history presented by Dan Brown, Carl Sagan, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Sam Harris. Let's drink to Sam Harris, who doesn't care whether Hunter Biden has got the bodies of small children buried under his front porch. That's Sam Harris saying it, not me. You know, people say, oh, you should pray for them. I do. I pray that God punishes them to the fullest extent of the law, and that they may burn in hell for eternity. Have you watched the new Cobra Kai season? Not yet. My wife has it saved. She's told me, and I actually might just pop down there and go and look at it with her. Have you watched the new Cobra Kai season? No, not yet, but I think I will. Something or other says, which is your favorite cheese? My favorite is cream cheese, the most versatile of all cheeses to my knowledge. I like Philadelphia cheese. Asiago. Asiago is probably the cheese I eat the most of, certainly here. I love it. If you don't know what Asiago is, I'm sorry for you, because Italy has got a huge variety of cheeses that most people outside of Italy haven't got a clue about. But Asiago is probably my favorite cheese. Josie says, logos in the Greek philosophy sense is such a powerful concept. It's amazing how so many so-called educated people don't even understand it. Well, they don't. Like love, you know, like in English you only have the word love. In Italian we have ti amo and ti voglio bene, which literally translated means I love you and I want good for you. I want good for you is what you say to your kids, or, you know, although, you know, lately it's been mixed because of the Americanism and the English thing. But when I was a kid, you wouldn't say ti amo to your mom. You would say ti voglio bene. You know, I care for you. I want good for you. And of course, the Greek has got, 4 different types of love. Agape, which is the God worship type of love. Eros, which is, the sexual, lustful, for your wife or girlfriend type of love. What are the other 2? TVC, you know them. Come on, write it out. Agape, Eros. There's the Philos, which is the friendship one, which is what my name comes after. You got it up there. I think you can. Oh, maybe you can't see it, but it doesn't actually have the thing. But the motto of my family motto is Omnia vincit amor, love conquers all. And my surname is originally Philo, which is from the Greek. Philos is friend. It's the love between friends. Which is not the gay, which are, the revisionist historians are trying to say Alexander the Great was gay, all the Caesars from Rome were all gay, and they were all gay everywhere. No. They've perverted and, revised history in their sick image. It's not true, and there wasn't as much gayness going on in the ancient world as people think are. What does flammetta or fiammetta? Fiammetta, Wooliram asks, what does fiammetta mean? Fiammetta is little flame. Fiamma is flame. Fiammetta is a diminutive of fiamma. So little flame. And if that's an L or instead of an I, then nothing really. But I think it must be an I. If your church ain't crying, your church is dying. Sedevacantism isn't dying at all. The sedevacantist churches I've been to in Italy are literally very often standing room only, and I'm talking, midnight on Christmas Day or any other mass. They are very, very super full. The one in Belgium where we got married in and that was just for our wedding. The mass after our wedding was packed. We were sitting in the front pew because we just got married, and the priest offers the newly married couple, newly blessed couple, they receive the host first, traditionally. So we were right in the first pew. Otherwise, I would have given up my seat, because there were like guys in their 70s, 80s in full-on suits, full-on best Sunday suit, kneeling when they come in, doing the sign of the cross. I still kneel and do the sign of the cross, even at the Novus Order churches. Not because I believe in any of the churches. I mean, I've had the local priest come here and say, I've come to do a house blessing, local fake priest. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but I'm Catholic. And he goes, but I'm the Catholic priest. I'm like, no, I'm actually Catholic. I'm sedevacantist. You're Novus Order. You're not a priest. Would you like a coffee? Like, okay, yeah, I'll take a coffee. Like, well, I don't mean to be rude, of course, but you know very well the Vatican II is all heretical stuff, and, I'm not going to sign up to any of that nonsense. But yeah, have a coffee. Do you take sugar? He left after that and never came back. So, they gave me the name the Kurgan because of my sunny personality, friendly disposition. Probably because I've known a couple of girls called Candy. I don't know. Okay, guys, well, I've been going for an hour and 20. If you've got any, 17 out of 17, if you've got any questions, I'll hang about until I've finished my Campari, which is very nice. Ask me anything. Freebie. I won't even ban you, unless you blaspheme. If E-Scorpio's around, we were going to have an intervention for E-Scorpio. Nearly forgot about that. That's right, E-Scorpio, the Gamma Chief. We were going to have a Catholic intervention. I want some commitment from some of you guys that are proper Catholics. And I know that some of you were supposed to get baptized. You know who you are. You know who you are. You were supposed to get baptized and you screwed up. Yeah, because you got something else on your mind. Something shaped sort of like that. Yeah, get baptized. But yeah, some of you actual Catholics, I think we should have an intervention for E-Scorpio. He has agreed to it long ago, last year. I need to set that up, and hopefully rural internet is going to work. But he's a nominal novice Orco Catholic. He's admitted to me that the reason he hasn't gone full proper Catholic is because he doesn't actually want to deal with what he would actually have to do if he actually became a proper Catholic. So he kind of knows. And you know, for all that he's the Gamma Chief, and that the Gammas take pot shots at me, I'm sure they take a lot more, I think, at Vox and other people, whatever. And I know they don't particularly like me, but whatever. I quite like you, Scorpio. He's all right. And, you know, I get that way of thinking because I didn't get baptized for a long time. Even after I read all the books and I read the Code of Canon Law and all that, I wasn't going to get baptized. Fire any questions you got, because I'll do the questions and then I'll hang up. But I didn't get baptized for a long time. First of all, because I thought, no, I'm not going to do that unless I can do it with my daughter, because if I get baptized, and I wasn't real clear on how it works, but it's like, well, if I get baptized, then everybody dies, or she dies, or I died, and I'm baptized and she's not. Does that mean she goes to hell or to limbo? And like, fuck that. I'm not going to leave my daughter on her own. If she's supposed to go to limbo or hell, then I'm going to be with her. And, you know, it's once you actually understand what baptism is and what Catholicism is, that's a pretty silly way of looking at it. But that was part of it. And the other little part of it was like, well, I'm kind of an evil, well, not evil, but I'm like, you know, I'm a pretty nasty son of a bitch, and I'm likely going to break all sorts of rules, and I'm going to sin, and I'm going to do some bad shit. And isn't it better if I just wait until I'm like on my deathbed and then I convert there and then? You know, there's a lot of crusades, a lot of Catholics did that, you know. Sort of like, ah, fuck it, I'm just going to do whatever I need to do, and then right at the end I'll repent. Which is very lawyery, is a bit kind of Jewish, I think, in your way of thinking about it, because they do this sort of thing, you know, they get somebody else to switch the lights on for them on Friday night. It's like lawyering with God, right? Which is not to say that your repentance isn't really true, but, you know, you're kind of cheating. So that was kind of it. And I get it. Scorpio's in that sort of, that's where he's at, you know. And he's a Gamma. You can expect him to be very evolved anyway. So, any info on the Skinwalker Ranch stuff? Sorry, Josie, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Skinwalker Ranch stuff. I don't know what that is. I don't know if you're referring to my farm or to some event that's called Skinwalker Ranch. You gotta fill me in. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Tides of Truth says, I've missed listening to you, Mr. Kurgan. You're funnier than I remember. A very funny guy. You just could have a little bit of a dry sense of humor sometimes. And you see that there? That's my saxophone, which I haven't taken out in over a year. Probably just means I'm better now than I was before, but I want to learn that instrument if it's the last thing I do before I die. And it'll probably be just about the last thing I do before I die, because I don't know that I'll get the time to do it until I'm, you know, bedridden. Oh, my boy today just cracked me up. He's got this thing, you know, they go through these stages where he's like learning to like be potty trained now and stuff, so he tells you when he needs to go and poo and wee and whatever, most times. And then he's got this thing where he like wiggles about and he goes like, hello poo poo poo, and like he calls people poo, and like, but he knows he's not really supposed to do it, so it's kind of like a joke sort of thing. And then, you know, at night I still put a nappy on him because I don't want him to piss the bed and whatever. I'm like, okay, let's put this on, and he goes, okay, poo poo poo, dad, poo poo, you're gonna put the poo poo on me. And then he goes like, Daddy, what about you? Am I gonna clean your poo? Because he comes up with this random shit. And I'm like, not today, son. Maybe when I'm an old man, I look forward to it. You know, if I shit myself when I'm in my 90s, you're gonna have to clean me up. He just comes up with something. Oh, but the little one, the girl, oh man, she's just, fuck, she comes up with things that are just hilarious. So she called the trampoline, she made this up, she calls it the jumpoline. So that's the jumpoline, she wants to go on the jumpoline. Then, well, we went to the beach the other day. What was she doing? Oh yeah, we caught a couple of crabs, you know, just with the net, and then we let them go. And but the boy, he's like, oh look, Daddy, oh yeah. So we put him in a bucket so to show them, like, look, there's a crab, and we're not hurting it, it's not damaged or anything. Like, oh yeah, a crab. Okay, like show it to your sister, and he's like, flings it into the sea, and it's like, what the hell? But I think he like wanted it to let it go, But the thing about crabs, if you drop them in the water, they like not really good swimmers. They're really good on rocks and stuff. But you can just put your hand under it, and they like land on your land, and then you can pull them out. So I showed him how to do that, and he was like loving it. He was like, oh look. And his sister was like, no, I'm scared. But even the big sister, he was like, hey. And she's like, no, get away from me. And then he went to these boys. They were kind of a little bit bullying him. They're older than him. Like he's like 3, they're like 8 and 7 or something. And they were kind of being a bit harsh on him, like with the water pistols and stuff. And he was like, I said, yeah, go take it to them. And he's like, here you go. And like at first the one kid was like, oh, shit. And then the other kid was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So then the first kid that was scared was like, oh, okay, I'll come near. I was like, yeah. And my boy's only 3. This guy's like 8 and 7. But like I was like, yeah, you bully him a little bit. And he's not even realizing what's really going on because he's tough. Like just give it another 2 years. In another 2 years, and you come crying to me about what he's doing, I'll just be like, nah, I'm sure it was just an accident. Like 2 years ago. You see, I've been through this before with one of his sisters. When he was born and he was little, she used to bully the crap out of him. And he used to cry and shit. And I was like, do you realize that even though you're 5 years older than him, when this little dude cat, so you better be careful. And sure enough, he got to the point where like he's about the same strength as her now. And it's like, oh, he hit me. Like, and what were you doing? And then like sometimes he did it, where she wasn't really doing anything, and he like bullied her. And I was like, yes, he should be punished. But do you remember what I told you 2 years ago? Karma. So it's like, I'm going to enjoy that in a couple of years. Yeah, parenting through jiu-jitsu and sistema, more sistema. Stone Ground Bear says, what is the best means of building courage? Do those things you're afraid of, man. Go at them head on, even if you think you're gonna not do well. I don't know. I had a very significant event that happened to me when I was 6 or 7. I think I was 7, maybe 6. At my grandmother's place, they had a huge place with a farm, and this lady was like, there was no internet then. She looked after 4 kids that were her nephews because she was a grandmother, and there was no shopping brought to your home. There was never a meal missed. The meals were all made on time, and she had a garden which she like grew all sorts of stuff which she cooked. She made cakes. This lady was awesome, and she died very young. My grandmother died when she was 56. But anyway, there was this big gate we had, and my brother and I were in the garden running around in this huge garden, and he had a little tricycle, and I had a little. I don't remember if I was on a bicycle or if I was just standing, and we were like close to the gate, sort of a few meters away from me, like 6, 7, 10 meters. He was closer than I was, and then we saw this like Freddy Krueger hand, literally a burnt, completely ruined hand, like reach in through the gate, and it had this little latch that you had to like reach in through this hole and pop the latch in order to open the gate. And this crippled like hand was like trying to get to the latch, and was like rasping away in a broken way, and like the latch was like kind of catching and not catching, and we were like both frozen in absolute terror, which is like, fuck, Freddy Krueger. And we hadn't seen the Freddy Krueger movies, but I swear to God, this hand was like fucking terrible. But like some goddamn burnt out sick monsters trying to get in, and like, we're so scared we can't even run away. And he's gonna pop this latch, and oh my God, it's missing it. Oh fuck, oh God, he got it. Oh! And he popped the latch, and he pushed the door open. And it was my grandma with like pink washing gloves, the gloves you used to do washing, but she used to use this in the garden to like dig up stuff. And she'd been to like the neighbor friend where they dug up she got chicken eggs and they traded carrots or whatever. And this glove, I swear to God, looked like human skin. That, and, you know, it was all like cut and broken and stuff, and it looked like a human hand that had been through the ringer. And like, but my brother and I just went like, and we looked at each other. We hadn't spoken. We couldn't speak. We were like frozen with fear. And I looked at him. I was like, "Oh my fucking God!" It's like, and he was like, "Yeah, me too." And after that, I was like so disappointed in myself. I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with me?" I had all the time to run away, get my brother, do something, you know, scream for help, run into the house and lock the door. And I was just so fucking terrified. I couldn't move. This is just fucking not good enough. I was so angry with myself. That was one event. And there was another event which was, I genuinely don't know if it was either before that. Actually, I think it was before that. There was another event that was before that. It wasn't as traumatic as that one. It was with my dad and my mom, and we had this house in Italy long ago that was like, there was vineyards, and then there was like a cliff face. So we were walking along the edge of the vineyards here, and my brother had the dog, this little dog on a leash. It was a wild dog. It was like a rough little thing. And for whatever reason, we were walking at the bottom of the vineyard, and he'd been walking the dog at the top of the vineyard, which was holding on a leash. And the vineyard was on a slope like this. So my brother's at the top here. The vineyard's sloping like this, and we're walking at the bottom, me, my dad, and my mom. But my brother was way ahead of us. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the vineyard, the dog turns and starts charging straight towards this cliff face, which is a good 30 meters into like nothingness, and then like rocks at the bottom or whatever. And this dog is just going full tilt down the thing with my brother hanging on to the leash because he ain't gonna let go, running. You know, like when a kid is running where he's just barely be able to like actually walk because he's going so fast that he's just about to fall over, but he's like got the full momentum. And he's running like this, and I went weak in my knees. I literally like dropped to my knees because I'm like, fuck, I'm watching my little brother run towards a cliff at full tilt. He ain't gonna be able to stop, and he's gonna go over that cliff and die. And there's fuck all I can do about it. I'm like 100 meters away. There's nothing I can do about it. My mother, the same. She's just behind me, and she's like, oh. My dad, who's done martial arts since he was young, he just starts running full tilt, like running and screaming, let go of the dog, let go of the dog, let go of the fucking dog. And he's just running as hard as he can. And I can see that as fast as my dad is running, and he's running for his life, I mean, he's running for his kid's life. He's like going as quickly as he can. He's not going to get there in time. I can see that. And that's when my knees just, but even now talking about it, I'm feeling like, fuck, that feeling was just, and my knees buckled. I was just like, fuck, there's nothing I can do. I literally dropped to my knees in like, it wasn't even fear. It was more like dread. And my dad running like, drop the fucking dog, let go, let go, let go, let go, screaming at him, you know, shouting his name, let go of the dog, let go, let go. And my brother, fucking retard, is holding on to it for dear life. And the little dog stopped about 10 meters before the thing, and my brother like ran up and caught up to the dog and stopped as well. And my dad's still shouting at him, let go of the fucking dog. He gets up there and like grabs him and he goes, what the hell are you doing? Why do you just let go of the dog? And my brother's like, no, but I was scared the dog was going to fall off the cliff. And we're like, fuck, what is wrong with you? You know, it's just, but those two things, and the one of the dog, I just realized now because of the fact that my dad was there, happened before, because then, you know, we spent some time with my grandparents when my dad was in Africa and stuff. Happened before. So that was the first one. And then this thing about the hand, and I was like, fuck that. I'm never getting frozen again, no matter what the fuck happens. And I remembered the thing about my dad running, because he was the only one that tried to do something, you know. And I thought, fuck that, I'm never going to stop again, you know. I'm never going to be frozen again. And then I've had many instances since then where all sorts of shit happened where I thought I was going to drop dead and I didn't freeze. So it's a choice as well, you know. You've got a choice there. I hope that answers your question, Stone Ground Bear. Josie says it's roughly related to the anti-gravity stuff. It's a ranch in the US with heavy alien activity, being researched by the DoD and aerospace interests. Okay, I don't know, never heard about it, which is interesting. Thank you for that. Skinwalker Ranch. Well, you know, the Area 51 ranch I'm pretty familiar. I mean, Area 51, sorry, not ranch. I'm pretty familiar with. But no, I've never heard about that one, so I'll look into it. Well, thank you all, and thank you for your questions. They were very interesting and entertaining. I hope that I answered some of your questions, and if not, that at least I made you laugh. God bless every single one of you. To all of those of you that helped support the Kickstarter thing, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I'm gonna do my best to make sure I do a really good job, both on the PDF, which is already started. It's got a lot of data in there that you wouldn't find pretty much anywhere else. I'll do the videos, I'll do the PDF, and I'll send you all that stuff. The deadline was hopefully before Christmas, so we'll see how it goes. Thank you all very much. Really enjoyed having you guys here. Don't forget the link for the in case you want to send me some stuff to help with the lathe, the mini lathe, and the new Joe Apocalypse video channel, YouTube channel. So again, thank you all. I really appreciate your guys being here, and it's cool. I feel like some of you I do know personally, and I hope the rest of you I'll meet soon. Ole says, great stream, thank you very much. Tides Over the Truth says, God bless you, see you soon, we hope. Yes, I'm going to try and stream more frequently. I've had some problems with my internet because the internet I usually use to stream, not working at all. Something happened with a couple of storms. I need to go up and check the antenna, but it's on the roof, it's been raining. I don't want to die right away, shit like that. So I'll eventually sort that out too, and then I'll hopefully stream more regularly. Nice to see you again, Kurgan. Take care, guys. Thank you, Backstella. God bless all. Go with God, Josie, and glad to be back to Tides of Truth. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Have a good evening.